Locally based visual artist Andrae Green has had his work shown internationally, and his paintings are included in many private collections around the world. Originally from Jamaica, Green was awarded a full scholarship grant sponsored by the Jamaican government to further his art studies at the New York Academy of Art. Since then, he has continued creating vibrant pieces that reference history and explore time, mythology, and memory. I spoke with Green to learn more about his creative process and how he incorporates his own personal memories and heritage into his artwork.
As early as I could remember, drawing has always been something that I was doing. Where it turned into a passion is when I went to college. And I did my first painting in college at the Edinburgh College of the Visual and Performing Arts, which is the only art school in the Caribbean. So everyone goes there. It's kind of like a mecca. And it's really cool to finally not feel like a weirdo, because all your life you've been thinking a certain way, acting a certain way, and been told that you're weird. But going to that school, I realized I was the most normal one there, and I started to feel at home, and I was like, wow, this is a lifestyle. This is how a group of people actually think and live. So it kind of cued me into that, and it kind of refined the ideas more, what I wanted.
Now, you describe your Jamaican identity as a hybridization of European and West African cultures. How does your heritage influence your artwork, and how do we see this hybrid identity play out in your pieces?
First and foremost, I always tell people like to be Jamaican is not a race. I mean, we're majority Black, but at the same time, these other races are part and parcel of what it means. The motto of Jamaica is out of many, one people. So that, in a sense, is where I pull from my whole how I treat people, just growing up in Kingston, which is very diverse. Then living here in Western Mass, moving to Western Mass with my wife, it kind of, I started to reflect because I wasn't around the culture anymore. And you start to get homesick and you start to long, and so your thoughts long for home. And it starts to bleed in the work, a lot more than it used to when I was right there. And even the stuff behind me, it's about one memory. Me and my dad with my family would go to Kingston Harbor, and we'd watch the kids jump off the pier, and it's just remembering that one thing, the sunset, how the sun was, how the bodies were flying in the air and kind of seemed like they were almost flying. It's something that I cherish and I miss.
Speaking of the paintings behind you, I noticed that, there's a lot of vibrancy, which reflects the Caribbean culture, but there's a lot of...
and the African culture too. Yeah.
And there's a lot of movement as well. Is there a particular technique that is yours that when someone sees it, they know this is an Andrae Green painting?
I hope so, because I'm in the middle of it. It's kind of hard for me to say, but I feel like most of my work deals with memory and time. So a lot, you'll see figures like shifting or being blurred into, or you'll see like a glitch effect. It's a metaphor I use for like memory or something that looks real but isn't, which is like a hallmark for maybe it's not being remembered right, or maybe I'm not understanding it right. So little cues like that, I think, carry on with the work. And also to people have told me like the color sensibility, the vibrance is something that they see from body of work to work.
One thing that stood out to me was that in an interview with the art salon, you mentioned that you don't necessarily see the images in your head, but it's more of a feeling that comes to you. What is your creative process like? How are you able to kind of trust your own intuition and follow it to create one of your artwork?
So for me, it's looking at a lot of artwork, familiarizing myself. I'm always like looking at new art, going to museums, driving even for like a couple hours down to New York to see a show that I want to see. And that's just being inspired and constantly looking out for stuff, drawing also too. I draw as much as I can. And then just filling that reservoir. So over time, and then with practice, of course, you have to be in here every day or as much as you can for it to feel like, for you to stop like thinking about it and just doing it, and then it becomes an extension. So I think after all of that is being done, then you have a kind of gut sense.
I hear you. Well, and to that point, you also spoke about the risk of being an artist. And when you present your painting, you don't know if it's going to resonate with people or fail. So,
Yeah.
how do you deal with those challenges that come with being an artist, and what keeps you doing this type of work?
So the thing is like, yeah, you just go to the next one because you always are as good or as bad as the last one you did, you know. So the thing is like a pop star, if they make a song that doesn't get like a number one, they'll still do a next one. And that's where your passion and drive comes in. It has to be the fuel. You can't just be doing it just to do it.
I want to touch on some of the themes that your paintings are about. So, you like to show time, mythology, memory, history. Why are
Mm.
those the themes that really resonate with you? And what do you see as the purpose of your art?
And for me, like part of the duty of an artist, if you can say the artist has a duty, is to kind of mark where we are visually as a people, as a race, as a culture. And that's why I feel like it's important. I pick stuff that's important to me, things that I want to understand. I want to understand, why do we believe the things we do? Why do we see the way we see? And of course, I do it through my own subjective lens of, I'm a Black male, grew up in a certain time, in a certain place, so I see the world a certain way. So when the phenomenological experiences of this time happens to us, I interpret it a certain way, and it kind of gives the world and I hope posterity a snapshot of where we were. I'm doing especially these works. You see people outside jumping, twisting, all of that stuff. For me, it's a direct. I'm trying to find, and I never actually said this out to anyone before, but I'm actually trying to give an antidote to what I felt was the lockdown, what people felt. So you're inside all the time. You can't go anywhere. You feel depressed, and they said suicide rates went up, since COVID, since the 2 years. So for me, I want to give people images that release them, that help them know, whether you're Black or white. I'm using the Black male body because I am, but to help feel release, to help know or remind them that you are free if you can be in a state, a good mental state, and then so that's what I'm thinking about. That's why I was thinking about the memory of my dad, because that's one of the things that hit me, those kids jumping, and it's just that exhilaration of freedom.